Welcome back to episode 486 of the GroomPod, recorded on August 16th. I am Susy the Groomer, and as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-star, Barbara Bird.
Whoa, yo, hey, everybody.
Our first appointment today, we are tackling a question from Facebook about a dog having a really tough time with nail trims. Then in B-Bird's classroom, we're going to learn all about ozonated oils. So whether you're looking to level up your behavior knowledge or sharpen your product chemistry, let's talk grooming. But first, a word from our sponsor. Is Grooming Day a battle against gnats and tangles? Take control with the ultimate duo from Best Shot Pet. First, transform your grooming routine with the Max. This ultra-concentrated single-ingredient conditioner is a total game changer. It conquers stubborn mats, reduces drying time, and turns your recirculator into a high-performance de-shedding machine. Then put all the finishing touches on your masterpiece with all-new Ultramax Anti-Stat and Scissor Spray. It's a perfect lightweight companion for effortless combing and precise scissoring while completely eliminating static and those pesky flyaways. Professional results start with the right products. Visit bestshotpet.com or your local distributor like Cascade Grooming Supplies to grab your bottle of the Max and the new scissoring spray today. Best Shot, made from the best stuff on earth. All right, Barbara. So I was very excited about the new AI software. And I let the magic editor edit the entire episode last week. And I hated it. I hated it. So I had to throw the whole thing out after 3 days and start again. So I'm halfway through last week's episode, but it'll be up soon, not to worry. But it just turns out there are some limitations and quirks. Like when I tried to have it remove all of our crutch words, all the ums and uhs and stuff like that, it was awful. It was just disjuncted and not pulled together, and I hated it. And so anyway, AI tools are great, but some people have an interesting opinion about AI. I am doing a mobile grooming roundup, as we do 2-3 times a year here in the Northwest. And I made an AI flyer because, quite frankly, I am not an artist. And to put together something, it was difficult and it looked awful and I couldn't get everything in there. And so I did it with AI. Boy, the uproar was crazy. I couldn't believe how upset everybody got. But it has caused the post to continuously be on top, and we're going to have more people at this event than we've had in years. There is so much activity and so much interest in our party, and there's a few naysayers, probably about 3 naysayers who are like, oh, you can't use AI, but even if you use a program like Canva to make a flyer, it's still using AI in the background, whether you know it or not.
Right.
And so I made my snotty comment, that genie's not going back in the bottle, and they had an uproar over that too. But it's true. There's no way it's ever going back in the bottle.
No, not for me either. Of course, I am just still very set upon Chat GTP, although I use Chat for more serious stuff, but for just like everyday momentary questions, just random questions that can be about grooming or not. I use
Gemini?
thank
Gemini?
you. I use Gemini, and I do sometimes use ChatGPT to fact check Gemini.
Yes.
Well, it's really important if we're into an area where I cannot be the overseer of what's really credible science, then I ask other AIs to input and to fact check each other. So that's always fun. But my chatbot, it's so terrific. My chatbot has come up with an idea for a program that's going to take us into the world of microbes and fungi, and and it's sort of like our world outside of ourselves. It's going to be this world view of where grooming fits into the really, really, really far out big picture. And it's going to enable me to have these splendid videos of microscopic stuff. It sounds like a lot of fun. And my chatbot came up with the idea all by himself.
Cool.
I kind of like brushed it off at first, and he said, well, and then this, and this might be another presentation about the world we live in and how groomers fit into that. And I said, tell me some more. And he unfolded this whole project. It's just a whole new world, and I am in it to win it.
I love it.
And I wouldn't put the genie back in the bottle even if I could.
So a little bit of housekeeping notes. We're looking for a new sponsor. And if you guys know anybody or connected with any companies or anything, not shampoo companies though, because we're good there, but a different kind of company that you would enjoy hearing an ad from, please private message me or message me in the discussion group so that we can look into it. We're looking for ideas right now for a new sponsor. Anyway, yeah, because our sponsors are so important and we're going to hear from them right now. Are your shears working as hard as you are? If you're ready to level up your scissoring game, it's time to check out Precision Sharp. Whether you're sculpting intricate styles or tackling heavy bulk work, their sliding thumb, lynx, and bobcat series are built for the job. The lynx shears are your go-to for lightweight, lightning-fast precision, while the bobcat series gives you that extra power and control you need for those challenging coats. And they both hold the edge beautifully and feel perfectly balanced in your hand all day long thanks to the sliding thumb ring. Find your next favorite pair at precisionsharp.com, where performance meets perfection.
Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to point you to one of the best whitener shampoos in our marketplace. We're talking about Show Season Bright Shampoo. It features a deep cleaning system and a punchy whitening system that goes beyond the usual blue colorant with an actual optical brightener and a dash of dimethicone. This makes all colors look radiant and glowing, and white coats look like new snow. Get your bright on today. Show season, where every day is a show day.
We received a question from Colleen Gillespie, who is a longtime listener, and she said, "Hi, I am in need of help. I groom a doodle who is terrified of her nails and pads being done. I'm talking whale-eyed terror. She's not aggressive, but she would rather break her leg to get out of a grasp. I have both clippers, scissors. I've tried both clippers and scissors on the pads, and both a Dremel and nail clippers. I've tried holding her legs in different ways, and nothing is working. Any ideas are appreciated." We have all had this dog. I've had this dog 1,000 times over. Oftentimes, it's like a Yorkie. What'd you say?
I own this dog.
Oh, right. I forgot that. Totally. They would rather twist their tiny little leg off than let you hold it to do the nail trim. And so over the years, I have always wondered what was going on. And I have made this kind of a drive for my behavior studies. I always want the dogs to have a good, experience with me. It's important how the dogs react to me. I get all butthurt if they don't like me. I think I take it very personally when the dog doesn't like me, because I don't care if the people don't like me, although that doesn't happen very often either. But I really need the dog to like me. It's very important to me for some reason. So the idea is to have a calm, comfortable, and cooperative dog who is basically a posable action figure for you. Like you pick its foot up and it doesn't try to pull your foot out of your hand or anything like that. And I often wonder what is going on in these dogs' heads that they think they can just twist all the way out. And the truth is, they've probably been able to get relief from having their nails trimmed by doing this. Like maybe even through the genetics, the whole history of their grooming. They've never been able to be calm for this. So you got to kind of restart everything. And we talked last week about the legs formula, which is learning, environment, genetics, and self. And the genetics portion of this is pretty strong. Like, for instance, if you've got a terrier, like a Westie or a Scottie, let's say a Scottie because they all hate their nails being done, and it's fighting you, well, it turns out that terriers love to fight and wrestle. It's like in their genetics that they want to struggle and have this fun time with you, and they think it's part of a game. And the other thing is, of course, their quicks are really long and their nails are usually really short. I don't know if that's a terrier thing,
And they're
but
quick to bite. Terriers
they are.
will bite because they're mouthy dogs. That's part of their genetics too, is that they're mouthy.
Yes, absolutely. And so you've got to look at that depending on now, in this case, it's a doodle. So the genetics are doodle.
What's
uh,
up? What's up?
it's hard to, look at genetics for that, but you certainly can look at the history. The history, especially the home routine. Like, what's going on at home? Are you guys trying to trim the nails? Because sometimes, and I noticed this, I had this incident with a brushing dog. Sometimes what they're doing at home is completely effing up what we're doing on the table. They think they're trying to help. They think they want to do their own dog's nails because they want to save the money or they don't want to bring the dog in just for nails or whatever it is. But it's actually making it really difficult for us to do our jobs. Also, if there's been trauma, like they clicked a nail pretty decently and then they panicked, and the dogs, they have a long memory. They remember this stuff. And I think that if you've got owners who are not helping us in the way we need them to, that can cause a difficult problem with these dogs. Also, are they living with old people? Because if the dog lives with old people and you're not a normal old person. I don't even consider you old. You're still 50 years old in my head. What can I say? I can't help it. But oftentimes at the age that we're at, and I'm including myself in that, getting down on the floor and wrestling with your dog isn't always something you just go to. Therefore, these dogs want to play and wrestle, and they sometimes misread what you're trying to do on the table as just a little bit of fun and play because they don't get that at home. So you got to kind of know what's going on in the house and how the owners are dealing with the problem. What do they get out of the struggle? You know what they get out of the struggle? We stop. We stop or we double down on it, one or the other, either way. So if it's a dog that likes to wrestle and it's a double down situation, we're going to make sure we get these nails done. Well, that dog's in heaven because it's just going to fight even more. If it's a dog that is not good with conflict, it could get really mad. Dogs get mad. You don't think of it, but you watch it in their face when they switch over, and all of a sudden you see, and boy, you're in for it then. And how about the dogs that's never had their nails trimmed? That is sometimes a benefit. If you get to start out with a clean, fresh dog, I just started a puppy the other day. He was like, oh, here, have my foot. Oh, here, you want this one? Go ahead. How long will that last, though? We don't know. But I'm starting to lay the groundwork for that. Find out what the dog's previous grooming history is. Because if this dog has gone from shop to shop to shop, or in the vet, and then to the shop, and then to a different groomer, and there's no consistency, that's not easy for the dog. Sometimes they will act out because they're not comfortable with the person who's handling them. I think a relationship is really important with a dog that has a difficult time with grooming. You need to be the same person all the time. You need to be consistent. You need to be predictable for these dogs. So we get the dog on our table and it starts fighting. If the dog's fighting you, you got to change something you're doing because whatever created it doesn't matter. You've got to come up with a better approach. You've got to do something differently than you've been doing. So let's talk about some of the things we can do differently. We can start with using a different tool. What's your favorite tool for nail trims, Barbara?
I like the orange-handled scissor nail clippers. I think it's important to use clippers that don't make a big snapping noise because sometimes that is a trigger for this nail fearing stuff. So those nail clippers I used just for decades. They were my favorite when I started and my favorite when I finished. I don't like the kind that where the blades move forward. I like the
The
scissor,
guillotine.
the guillotine. I don't like those kind. I can't aim very well with those, sorry.
I'm with you. I don't like those either. I like pliers, the plier
Yeah,
type. I also use a smaller nail trimmer than probably most people would. I don't use the big orange ones. I use the littler black ones for
right.
most of the dogs.
Yeah, I use the smaller ones too. I tried to avoid those big ones. I just have them for really large, tough nails.
It's important that your nail trimmers be sharp.
Amen.
If you squeeze in that nail and it hurts when you squeeze the nail, you think it's just a nail, but it's got feelings in there and stuff, and it hurts. So use really sharp nail trimmers, and gosh, they're cheap. If your nail trimmers aren't good, either get them sharpened or toss them.
I totally agree with that.
My favorite, though, is the Dremel. If I can Dremel nails, I like that best. But sometimes I have a difficult time holding the foot in a good spot to Dremel.
For long enough to
Yes.
Dremel. That's my problem is you have to hold the foot longer with a Dremel. I can really snip quickly, but Dremeling is a longer process, so there's that.
I will say that the Whitman diamond bits for the Dremel are the cat's pajamas. They don't pull hair. They cover the shaft with a tube, so there's no spinning to get caught in hair, and they hold their sharpness really, really well. So I struggled for years with those sanding bands. I didn't want to spend the money for the Whitman one, and I tried some other cheaper ones, and I'm like, oh, these diamond stupid nail bits are lame. They're mashugana. They're yucky. They don't work. I don't know what's wrong with them. Well, it turns out that you've got to have the right one and spend the money on the Whitman's one. Hey, there's a sponsor. It's yeah, and it does a great job. And my suggestion about Dremeling is Dremel the outside around the nail first and then take off the center, and it's a little bit quicker that way. So you kind of take the shell off and then do the center. That's my favorite.
I
Yeah.
really trust Ralph Whitman with those kinds of tools because he's comes from a sharpening background and he's kind of a tool engineer in that sense. He's a very reliable source for good tools.
Here's one that we have talked about in the past. Of course, we've talked about everything in the past. What can I say? The timing at which you do the nail trim really matters, especially as a mobile. You know, I like to do the nail trim first so that I can get it over with. And if there's any bloodletting, then I can deal with it before the dog goes back into the house with the white
Right,
carpet.
great.
Well, this is just what I'm talking about. This is just for mobiles. This is the way I like to do that for that reason. But I do not always do it that way because the dogs don't react to that. And it's like starting off with a fight. Here, put your dukes up. I'm going to do your nails first. And you start.
I know, like, why go for the hardest thing, for them to tolerate first? I like to do it at the end, and then they know that as soon as they live through this, it'll be all over.
I oftentimes choose to do the nails the very last because if you don't start a fight, then you're not fighting. It's great. You go through the whole groom, everything's peachy keen, then you do them last. Another place that really I find is great distraction, in the tub.
I've done that.
And I usually do it after the dog is wet because then they're all thinking about that.
Right,
Oh,
when the nails are wet too, because when the nails are wet, they're somewhat softer, they're a little bit easier to slice off the tip.
and then as far as the process of doing the nails, I am a big proponent of name and explain. So when you're doing the nail trim, you're going to tell the dog, I'm going to tell the dog, you don't maybe necessarily do this, but I'm going to tell the dog, you ready for the nail trim? And I'm going to show them the clippers and I'm going to let them smell the clippers so that they're ready. Then I'm going to pick up a foot and I'm going to say snip before I snip the nail. So I go snip, clip, so that they're actually ready for the moment I'm going to trim the nail. And I find that's very helpful. And I find that they learn the words. And it can also backfire because the dog can go, it's going to snip. Oh my God. Oh my God. Because I'm a name and explain person and I talk to the dogs the whole time, then I'm explaining the nail trim. But if the dog is fighting and pulling the foot away, it's possible they're out of balance. It's hard for them to stand. So giving them a little additional support in my way. In my table, I've got the table divider, and the dogs can actually lean against the table divider, and it gives them a little more stability. Plus, I'll put a belly strap and a T-strap, through the legs and under the belly so that the dog is supported that way. Because some of these oldies, they can't stand on 3 legs very comfortably. So part of the pulling is for that. In this case, it's a young dog. That's probably not what's going on, but make sure to keep the dog's foot as close to the table as you can so you don't throw off their balance more than you need to.
So do you ever do a smaller dog in your lap?
Yes, that's another great way. Yep. I it's funny because both of my cats are really awful unless I do them in my lap. I can do them in my lap. If I try to do them standing on the table with a lick mat or something like that, they're like, excuse me, no. But if they're in my lap, all cuddled in and I just sneak a nail out and cut it off and do them one at a time. That's another thing you can do. You can do one nail, put the foot down and go somewhere else, but you have to remember to go back and finish all the nails because I have left a nail or two once or twice by doing that. But you got to really read the dog. If the dog says, I'm out of balance, do something that will help them become in balance. If the dog is afraid of the snip, do something that makes them more aware of the snip. Dogs do not like to be surprised. So don't think you're going to just grab that foot up and snip that nail without the dog being aware that's what you're going to do. That is going to get them to be very defensive.
Yeah, you can get bit that way.
I agree. Like I said before, if you're doing something and the dog is fighting it, change something in the way you're doing it because what you're doing isn't working for that dog. Oftentimes I find problems with nail trims originate with us. It's the way we're holding, the strength of our hold, the speed we're going through because this is our regular day and we're going to do 100 nails today because that's just a regular day. The dog doesn't see it that way. This is their experience. You got to honor it, So check yourself. Check how you're holding.
Yeah, and check that you're not pulling the leg out from the side of the dog because it's so easy to do that, and it's really way more uncomfortable for the dog, especially those back legs. You've got to make sure you're lifting it up straight, not just pulling it away from the side of the dog because then the joints don't work that way. And even with the front legs, you can pull the foot behind and do it from behind, but it's hard to see the quick when you're doing it from the bottom of the foot. Just keep that in mind. It's an option, but it's not a real good one.
Right. And with the dog's nail, this is a dog nail right here. That's a dog nail. If you cut it at this angle rather than straight up and down, you're going to get more nail off. Not that way. That way. Here's the dog nail. You're going to cut it in an angle like this instead of like this. If you cut it like this, the nail is going to be shorter. I know it's hard to see because I don't have a very good nail, but angle it towards the dog's body as opposed to away from the dog's body, and you'll get a little bit shorter nail without coming under the quick, which is on the bottom side. So you're going to angle it so that the quick is a little bit longer, and then that'll wear off as the dog walks around a little bit and recede a little bit. Have you ever found nails to recede from more frequent nail trimming?
No,
Me either. I think that's a myth.
I think that's a grooming fallacy,
Yeah.
a myth that was established, and we have repeated it, and we have said, well, if we could do it more often, we could get that quick to recede. Now, you can do it every week, and it's not going to make any difference. And once the quicks extend, like with my 14-year-old Maltese, that's it. You got it long, quick. You're going to have longer nails. I almost can't do Marco's nails without hitting one.
Right. And that happens. That's a dog then that I would probably try to do at the beginning so I wouldn't send it back into the house bleeding. I hate that. It is the worst as far as a mobile groomer to send a dog in and then 10 minutes later they're like, "Oh, Harry's bleeding all over the house. What do we do?" And then you either have to go back with the quick stop or tell them to use some cornstarch or maybe some flour and some pressure.
I had a German Shepherd dog once. He belonged to the parents of a regular client. He came in, he was an older dog, and they wanted just a nail trim. And the old man and the old woman sat down in my 2 chairs that I had out there, and I proceeded, and I hit a quick right away. And it took me like 40 minutes to stop the bleeding. I mean, I didn't not the dog was a bleeder. And they didn't warn me about that. They didn't even know about that. And the husband almost fainted because he does so much blood. It was a freaking nightmare that's still implanted in my brain, and I'm still feel bad about it. It was worse than a tongue nick.
It's traumatic.
And then they said, oh, yeah, well, we had him up on the mountain yesterday, and he was climbing down the hills that were made of shale. So the dog had already just, like, messed up his nails and his feet, the bottoms of his feet, really badly. And they were, like, way behind. They should have had the nails done before they went camping, not after. They thought, well, we'll take him on the mountain, and he'll wear his nails down, right?
Right. That's a great idea. And then we'll take him in to get his nails trimmed.
It was horrible. That a poor old man. I'm having to do first aid with the dog and then first aid with the dude too.
Dogs that are kept, like, for instance, live in a cement run part of the time, and their nails are so worn off, that quick never recedes back into the nail. It just makes a raw end of the nail. I mean, you look at like a Scotty nail, you flip it over and you just see quick all the way there all the time. That must be uncomfortable for the dogs. I don't know. Anyway, that's how nature builds them, so it must be the right way. But gosh.
Well, I tend to think that nature fucks up sometimes.
Well, platypus.
That's how I am.
I feel very strongly, as you all know, of using good table support systems, including the groomer's helper, the lips. I also use a muzzle when needed because The nails can hurt and quicking can hurt. And if you have a reactive dog, their first instinct is going to be to go for your hand. Just because. I mean, it's not like you're doing anything wrong, but if it hurts, they're going to go look for it or look at it or bite it or whatever. If you're questioning whether the dog is going to strike at you or not, go ahead and attach that front neck to the post so it can't get to you. If in fact it can get to you, put the muzzle on just for the nail trim. I always personally start without a muzzle and give the dog a chance to show me that it's reactive, even if it's been reactive in the past. I don't immediately put a muzzle on. I will wait and give them a chance to be good, because eventually, if you don't quick them and you don't hurt them when you pull their leg out or back or front or that kind of stuff, and you don't surprise them, they will eventually get a little better. I've only ever had one dog that did not progress, and it's because it was so badly constructed with the fiddle front that the only way I could comfortably do the dog was with the dog's head in a groomer's helper and the lip, so it was cross-tied. And then very, very carefully, because the shoulder joints were so horrible and the wrist joints were so horrible, I crossed the dog's leg under its body, because that's the natural way the dog's leg went. So you've got to also maybe take that into consideration. Sometimes I do the nails underneath the body on the opposite side because it's more comfortable for the Shih Tzu Havanese oddly shaped front ends. So that's an option too. I'll put the muzzle on. Like I said, I'll cross tie. I offer all kinds of support for the dog to make it comfortable, including an anti-fatigue mat, especially for those old dogs who can't really stand on three legs comfortably. And sometimes I can use treats. Sometimes.
That was my next question.
Rarely, but sometimes. And of course, I've got the $1 million treats. I've got freeze-dried liver, so it's a single ingredient. It doesn't really affect skin problems. And every dog that I've met, with the exception of maybe a couple in all these years, love it. They don't always love it for their humans, but they love it for me. They're like, that's the grooming treat, and it's gold. So I will use a treat if I can. I will also use a lick mat if it works, with some peanut butter spread in it or some frozen dog food. And sometimes I'll have the owner provide that so that I'm not messing with a diet dog. And medications too, if you need a little, take the edge off. But I'll tell you, with medications, they'll instantly react to it. And then they've gone past the medication. It's like Valium. You give them Valium, and then the minute there's any stress, the Valium is non-existent. I'm not a proponent of doing drug dogs because I'm a drug addict myself, and I know what it's like to be on drugs, and those were drugs that I chose to take. If somebody were to give me drugs I didn't know I had, like I always had this secret idea to put some acid, this is back when I was naughty, put some acid in the community coffee cistern, to put a little acid in there and watch everybody see what would happen. But I never did it.
That's a mean thing to do, because it's hard enough being acid when you know what you're in for come upon you and the walls
Yes.
melt, that kind of shit, like that.
Sorry. Just thinking about that, though. Think about it if you were a dog and all of a sudden you feel out of your body, out of sorts, but you don't know why, and then all of a sudden somebody comes at you with a nail trimmer. I don't think that's the way to go.
I don't either. I never liked doing the drugs, but there were a couple of them that had their little medication that they took at home before they came for grooming. Just anti-anxiety stuff, not anything super out of body stuff. But
Like maybe a Benadryl or maybe some CBD or something like that might help on a dog that, like I have a big Akita mix that does fine with CBD. He comes in all mellow. He's like, hey, dude, man. Okay, I got two more things. Sometimes the owner is great at helping. Not every owner is great at helping, but sometimes It really makes a big difference, especially for those little teeny tiny foot-sized dogs. If the owner can safely hold the dog and you can get a nail out down at the bottom and do it that way. I do Chihuahuas that way, sometimes Dachshunds that way, because getting their low bodies enough off so that I can see well enough. Also, light. I wear a headlamp when I do nails because I want extra light so that I can really see. Sometimes I wear my headlamp with my magnifying glasses, but get a good view. Don't ever snip anything you cannot see with your eyes because that's how dangerous things happen. So get the owner involved. Make sure that they know that sometimes their dog might pee if they get nervous, because I had a Chihuahua pee all over a lady once. I hadn't even touched the nail. The dog was in her arms and she just let go. So tell them to wear decent clothes if you're going to have them have them help you, and make sure they're not going to be a hindrance to the process. Sometimes they're a hindrance. Teach them correct restraint techniques. Don't just expect them to hold the dog and you not to get bit. Really show them how to hold the dog against their body and keep the head away from their face. And because they're going to think they're not going to get bit, but it's certainly possible that if an owner is restraining a dog while you're doing a procedure, they're at risk.
Yeah.
Teach them to be good.
I used to do a few regular, like Chihuahua, small dog nail trim onlys, and people would come in and they would sit down in one of my 2 chairs that I had out there, and I would bring a towel, and they would wrap the dog in the towel and hold it. The towel was both a calming, mechanism, and it helped hold the dog, and it also just helped to minimize the stress, and, if they peed, you had the towel right there. So, like, was that always worked, and, one of those Chihuahua customers who was a big, tough biker broke down and cried when I closed shop and moved away because he didn't think anybody could do his baby's nails like I did.
That's so sweet. I love stories like that.
I know, he was just a real toughie too.
Okay, my last discussion point here is break up the appointment. Like when you're in the appointment, do the nails, 1 foot here, 1 foot there, break it up while you're going through the process. But you can also have the dog come in for a separate nail trim. So you're not doing any of the other things. You're just going to do the nails on that visit.
I've done that with cats.
Yes. And the other thing you can do is send the dog to the vet for the nails. This is a mixed result because some dogs need a lot of grooming, and the nail trim is a deal breaker for them. So if you send the dog to the vet for a nail trim, and when I do that for someone, it means I've tried all of the things we've already talked about, and I think this is the best solution for the dog. In my case, I have a dog that belongs to my nephew who has really bad elbows, and I mean bone chips and malformed and all this, and she's a young dog. So restraining her, even with my nephew who I've taught how to restrain, it's just a no-go for her. It is an absolute deal breaker. It makes her not want to get in the grooming van, and I never want that. So we've talked about it, and instead of me doing the nails, I do everything else, and then the dog has a separate visit at the vet for the nails. I don't know what happens back there. I mean, I've been back there. I know what happens. But in this particular case, I've never worked at their vet, so I'm not sure if they tag team her, lay her on the floor, whatever. It's not my preferred method. I would rather teach her to be good, but I am so afraid of creating more pain for this dog during the grooming process. I have chosen to send that dog somewhere else. And it's working. The dog loves her grooming. She hops into the van. She hops up on the table as best as she can with her bad elbows. And there's no conflict. And she loves me. Then every once in a while, not every month, but when she needs it, because she's fairly good walker, so they walk a lot, she goes in and gets her nails trimmed there. I have probably 2 dogs I do that with, and it just makes it so that I'm not the enemy every single time. I'm actually the dog's friend. I'm the staff. I'm that dog's staff. I want it to love me. I want it to give me good results. I want it to give me a kiss when we're done. I want it to run back to me when I let it go. So that it's perfectly acceptable to send the dog to the vet for the nails. Make sure the owner understands why. And if not that, then there are also dogs that do not need their nails trimmed every time. So don't feel like you have to trim a dog's nails, like that Scotty where the quicks are already exposed. You don't need to trim that dog's nails at all, probably ever. Just check them every time. But let the owner know your dog does not need its nails trimmed this time. I did not trim the nails. I'll get them next time. It's because they were just short enough. So communicate. Talk to the dog, talk to the human. Use all of your tools in your arsenal and make sure that you're not creating trauma for the dog if you can help it. All right. Anything to add? Did I do it?
Good tutorial, Susy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Time for a break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to have to put on our thinking caps and our lab coats because we're going into B-Bird's classroom. You love grooming, but the business side, not so much. Between the constant phone calls, the no-shows, and the messy calendars, it's hard to focus on the pets. Meet Groomer, the all-in-one software built specifically for salon, mobile, and house call groomers. Let clients book online 24/7, send automatic text reminders, and manage your payments all in one place. Spend less time on paperwork and more time doing what you love. Start your free trial by putting GroomPod 22 in the coupon code at groommore.com. Groomers, take your seats. It's time for B-Bird's classroom. Barbara, I honestly don't know much about this topic at all, so I'm going to sit back. I'm already wearing my thinking cap and my lab coat. I'm going to let you teach me all about ozonated oils, and we're going to invite our listeners to join along. So here you go. Have a microphone.
I've had a little adventure with the use of ozonated oils. And so I thought I would present them to our GroomPod folks because this is an important thing that may become more practical in the future. But ozonated oils are something that were used before antibiotics were created to heal wounds and skin problems, and were used in people medicine, on the battlefield, with veterinary medicine, and they sort of were surpassed and outdated once antibiotics hit the scene, except that they maintained usage in Europe. So they didn't fade as totally as they faded here. But now that we're faced with a global crisis of antimicrobial resistance, and many people and animals are becoming resistant to the treatments that we have available, which is causing unnecessary deaths. Ozonated oils are becoming of more interest to us globally. So it's simple. Ozonated oils are very simple. They are simply vegetable oils through which ozone has been, they've been like treated with ozone for several hours to where the ozone becomes incorporated into the oil. And when that happens, the oil creates other things that then ward off infection and so on. I'll show you a slide on how ozonated oils work. But first, let's look a little bit at the history, because ozonated oils, where ozone itself was first discovered in 1840 by a Swiss chemist. And he was working with electricity and stuff like that. And he noticed that he created this gas that smelled bad. And he named it, yeah, and the ozone smells bad. I got to tell you, in the get-go, it's icky. I mean, we smell it a little bit after a rain. I don't know if you've ever smelled ozone in the air, but it's a really singular smell. It's the only thing that smells like it, which is ozone.
I can smell it, like my memory, I can smell what it smells like, but it is kind of undescribable.
It's sort of metallic-y.
Yes, I was just going to say a little chemical.
Yeah, it smells a little chemical. Well, it's really fairly natural. I mean, compared to antibiotics, which are just, like science, fourth generation, this is old stuff. So ozone entered medicine in Europe in the 1890s. Now, that's a long time ago. And the ozonated oils were discovered and developed by Tesla, the same as the car. Nikola Tesla was an amazing engineer, and he was an inventor, and he invented the first ozone generator that you could use to create ozonated oils. And he was the first one to come up with a therapeutic oil. He recognized the therapeutic potential of ozonated olive oil, and olive oil was the first oil that was used, but many different oils have been used. The most popular ones are olive, sunflower, and coconut oil. But now, even argan oil, it just takes a vegetable-based oil to take on the ozone, and it gives us a means of applying the ozone, because ozone is a gas. You can't put that in a bottle. But you can make a bubbler and make a water. You could even make a bath. It's been used. Ozonated water has been used to clean vegetables and in food work. But first of all, I just wanted to give a shout out to Nikola Tesla, because there's a lot going on with this dude before his name was used in this crazy car. Okay, so in practice, ozonated oils became the go-to for minor and even somewhat substantial injury, topical treatments of burns and cuts and wound care, wounds, bullet wounds, ulcers, skin infections.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. It has a lot of different applications, and they were used extensively in the early 1900s and through the 1940s. Well, in the 1940s, antibiotics kind of came up and took center stage, and the rise of synthetic antibiotics shifts medical priorities, and ozonated oils kind of remained in use, but were shuffled off to the alternative medicine category, right? So that was my original impression of ozonated oils was that it was kind of woo-woo alternative medicine stuff. And I had just uh, a kind of bias against um, oxygenated stuff because there was a trend in the early 1900s towards using oxygen as a healing thing, item, gas. So now there's a reason for ozonated oils to kind of emerge or reemerge and to revisit the potential there. And that's the problem that we have with antimicrobial resistance. Let's be clear, the body of the animal or person is not resisting the antibiotics, but the bugs, the microbes on the body of the animal or person are resisting the antibiotics. Pathogenic microbes have ability to protect themselves from antibiotics. And once that happens, uh, it's really hard to heal something. An example are biofilms. We've had biofilms in our mouth when you've had, like um, cake down tartar. That's a
Uh-huh.
biofilm. That's actually a icky thing. Icky.
Yeah,
Very, very icky.
gross.
Well, the, ozonated oils, I'm not too sure whether they can prevent biofilm forming, but I don't know that whether they can really break through a biofilm. But modern science is revisiting ozone. Scientific studies confirm that ozonated oils are have broad antibacterial, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, and wound healing properties. And this is very important because, unfortunately, once we established the, the kind of 10 most popular antibiotics, there was no research done to develop more. So we don't have substitutes for the antibiotics that are being resisted to. And nothing is more sad than to have a person or a pet die because the treatment couldn't be effective.
So, is this the kind of a thing that we would choose to do before an antibiotic or before a medicated shampoo? We would try this ozonated oil?
I only know of one person that has really, for years, utilized ozonated oils, and I think we'll have Michelle Knowles come uh, and talk with us, and she can explain how she uses it. Rather than have me, I'm going to tell you this about myself. Many of our listeners will remember that I've been having for over a year and a half now, a really bad yeasty skin with my 2 Maltese, and it came
Yes.
kind of like out of nowhere. I tried several different things by myself, including Dead Sea salt and clay and alternative kind of stuff, and nothing stopped it. And my dogs just kept getting worse and worse, and the veterinary bill, I just went to the vet one time, and they just gave me an antibiotic and Apoquel to stop the itching, and that would seem to clear it up in about 2 weeks, and then, boom, just started all over again. So, and this has been other people's experience too, that the antibiotics and the Apoquel work, but it doesn't keep the yeast from reoccurring and reoccurring. So finally, I gave up on that. I wasn't going to go back and have another $400 vet visit and come home with antibiotics and Apoquel. I remembered about ozonated oils, and I looked on Amazon and found that there are ozonated oils that look like they're manufactured under decent circumstances, right? Not backyard breeders, so to speak. Um, because technically you could have an ozone machine and a tank of oxygen and you could make your own ozonated oils, but it would just be a huge, giant pain in the ass.
And a mess, I'm sure.
So, better to let the experts who have been doing this for years, probably didn't just start recently, but have all along been dealing with ozone and stuff. Let them manufacture the ozonated oil. I bought about $25 tiny little 2-ounce jar of ozonated sunflower oil. And I started putting the ozonated oil directly on the little scabby areas, where the scabs were attached to the skin. Because when the yeast is dying, the scabs release from the skin and then just kind of are in the coat. But like I can look with my little held dryer and see which spots are really inflamed underneath the scabbiness, and the scabs are really firmly attached to the skin. I just applied straight on ozonated oil to that, and it smelled. I don't like the smell, but what do you want? Yeast smelling like everybody smells like Cheetos? Or do you withstand a little ozone? It is a cleaning smell, kind of, in a way.
I would like to have my dog smell like Cheetos, but it's Fritos that they smell like. They're not
Good.
orange and
Okay,
smell like
thank you.
cheese. Yes.
Corn chips.
Yep. Corn chips.
Corn So so there's a resurgence of interest in, uh, alternative ways to deal with infection, alternatives to antibiotics, because the antimicrobial resistance ultimately leads to antibiotic resistance, which is tragic. And it's scary, and it's worldwide. It is an identified global crisis as identified by One Health.
Yeah, it's bad. It's
Yeah,
bad.
the global health people.
Put away your chlorhexidine. Put it away.
Yeah, put it away, please. But that's another topic, and we will continue to mention that. As a little AI-generated teaching tool of how ozonated oil works. So we see the ozone O3, 3 little oxygen molecules together. That's ozone O3. The carrier oil, they put it together and you have a reaction which creates ozonoids, peroxides, and hyperoxides. And the key point there is that those ozonoids, peroxides, and hyperoxides release active oxygen slowly. So they provide ongoing antimicrobial activity. So that's why I put the ozonated oil liberally on the yeasty patches, and then I put pajamas on the dogs. Fortunately, they didn't have yeasty feet. it was not one of the really bad areas. It was mostly a body thing, which was, to me, was real strange. And they didn't have yeasty ears, but they had yeasty necks. And they had yeast around the base of their tails and on their hips and on the sides of the dog and in the armpits. Really strange. But here's the antimicrobial mechanism. It's a multi-target attack. So they can both contact and adsorb to the say it, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, to the
Dun, dun,
bacteria
dun.
molecule, and then they do oxidative damage to the cell membrane. So they break through the skin, so to speak, of the cell, and they undergo intracellular oxidation. It's kind of a multiple attack, so it's not just one single thing that they do, which is part of the problem for the creating the resistant microbes. When we use antibiotics from the vet and we don't finish the protocol,
Yeah, which is common.
which is bad person behavior, because that is what creates survivors of the antibiotic. So anytime, or the antimicrobial, in the case of, say, chlorhexidine, if we use chlorhexidine and we don't wait the right amount of time, let's say we only wait 3 minutes, not 5 to 10. 10 minutes would be if there's a lot of coat. 5
Right.
minutes would be a short-coated or a thinly coated dog. 10 minutes for a more coated dog, like your Havanese puppy or a doodle or a double-coated dog. If we don't wait the amount of time, or if we shorten the period of an antibiotic and say, "Oh, he's all better, I won't use the rest of it," then they have survivors, and those survivors can hop from one dog, to a person, to another person, to a dog, to more dogs and persons, and those yeah, they hop around. Susie, I am so glad I don't have a shop right now, because I would have to clean it really well.
Yes.
I would have to look at my habit of using the same brush on all of the dogs,
Yep.
and rarely, if ever, cleaning my brushes or disinfecting them, and combs.
Yep.
I thought about this, and I remembered my hairstylist always would pull out a fresh comb from a drawer. They didn't have combs laying around on their table, and they would pick up one that they used on the previous client and use it on me. No, they always had a clean, sanitized comb or brush that they would use on me. We need to do that. We need to do that. Why ozonated oil works so well? Because it's a multi-target action, attacks cell membrane, cytoplasm, proteins, and DNA. It's a broad spectrum, effective against bacteria, yeast, fungi, some viruses, and some biofilms. Low resistance potential. We're not going to say that there's no potential for resistance, but it's very hard to establish antimicrobial resistance with use of these oils, and they're gentle on the skin. I looked on Amazon for ozonated oils for pets, And guess what? There's a company called, well, let me see where that. Let me see if I can find that. Oops, we're going the wrong way. Here we go. Ozone Apothecary. Ozone Apothecary has pet shampoo with ozonated argan oil, 5%, pet ointment for direct topical use of ozonated sunflower seed, 10%, and eardrops. Look at that, with ozonated olive oil, 100% ozonated olive oil for pets and people. There's a solution for someone with a recurring, can't kill it, awful ear thing. That Cocker Spaniel that my client euthanized because the ear problems were so torturous for the poor
Yeah.
dog. If she were still alive, we would go to the ozonated olive oil.
I'm thinking about it from my friend whose lab has horrible ears. I think that might help her. I'm going to suggest it.
It's likely to be a do no harm thing. The first time that I applied the ozonated sunflower seed oil to my dogs, it seemed like it kind of increased the inflammation, but then it didn't. And subsequent applications, it seemed to do a lot even overnight. And in the studies that I read about using the oils directly as a topical, they would apply it every day. I think maybe every 2 or 3 days is good, because every day is hard to make that commitment. But I think that I would try it. There's a vendor on Amazon, so I think it costs about $24 for a little jar. And what's to lose?
Yes, exactly. Especially, if it doesn't hurt anything, why not?
And so those horrible ear problems, those are caused by Pseudomonas aeruginosa. And I'm thinking of reviving my presentation on that.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I need to just redo the slides on a better format. But
yeah,
so that's it. It's exciting. One of the uses of ozonated oils is dental. At the dentist, alternative medicine dentists use it a lot. So it's even used for mouth. So it's not that toxic.
Good. All right. Thank you for being here. Thanks for looking at our video, because very cool. And we'll try to figure out how to unshare Barbara's screen in a minute. Hey, it's a process. That was fun. All right, I appreciate all the hard work you do, Barbara, for the show. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We're so happy to have you here, and we're so happy to have our vacation behind us and be putting out good content for everybody. Congratulations to all the people who were nominated for the Barkley Honors Award. This is the first year we didn't get nominated, and we are completely okay with it. So don't worry about me. I'm not sitting at home crying. I'm sad, but it's fine. It's fine. Don't forget to join us on Patreon to support the show or give us a little donation. Show the love so that we can keep producing this and putting out our good content. And happy grooming, everyone. See you next time on the GroomPod. Bye.
Hey, take care of yourselves because we love you.